Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. I feel like there are a few things better in life than having new book releases to look forward to. So all year long, I've been compiling a list. Anytime my favorite authors have announced that they have a new book coming out next year, I've added them all to my list. So I'm going to be sharing this list that I've compiled with you guys today. This is by no means every book coming out in 2024. These are just my highly anticipated new releases. A lot of these I have pre-ordered and I am counting down the days until I get them and can read them. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to talk about these books in order of publication date, which I got all of these dates off Goodreads, so I'm sure a lot of them are subject to change. Just keep that in mind as we go through talking about the books. The first book coming out on March 5th, this feels like an early birthday gift, is Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. I can't remember the name of this series, but this is the book that follows Done and Dusted. I remember this past summer after reading all of the Chestnut Springs series books that were out at that time. I think it was around like July. I had the worst book hangover. I needed another cowboy romance. I wanted something similar to the Chestnut Springs series, and Done and Dusted really gave me that fix. It did everything it needed to do. It was just the perfect palate cleanser book, the perfect little cowboy romance, and I loved it so much. Our male main character in Swift and Saddled is going to be Wes, who is the brother of our main character Emmy in Done and Dusted. And I remember reading about Wes in Done and Dusted and I loved his character. He was very soft and gentle, more golden retriever type character, which is personally my favorite kind of male character in a romance novel. And I believe Wes is renovating one of the houses on the ranch, and he hires Ada as the interior designer to help him in the renovations, and it follows their romance. I was looking at Lila Sage's Instagram and she was talking about how she would describe the couple in Done and Dusted as strong and steady, but she would describe the couple in Swift and Saddled as soft and sweet, which just sounds right up my alley. So I cannot wait to get my cowboy romance fix again in 2024. Jumping to April 2nd, I am so excited for this book. We have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez coming out. I discovered Abby Jimenez this year. She became one of my new favorite authors. I am so glad that I picked up her books because Part of Your World and Yours Truly, that I both read this year, became two of my very favorites. I just love her writing. She writes characters and storylines with so much depth, so many layers. They feel very unique but still relatable. I just love her books and I love her writing so much. The premise of Just for the Summer sounds so fun too. I love that she's writing a summer romance. This one follows our male main character Justin, and he feels like he is cursed because every person he dates, as soon as they break up, the next person they date ends up being their soulmate. So I think he ends up posting about this online and a girl slides in his DMs and she's like, oh my gosh, I have the same exact problem. So I think they come to this agreement where they're gonna date each other and then break up to try and fix the curse. But I think their plan initially is to just be a summer fling, and then a bunch of stuff gets dumped on them. I think family related things. So they end up getting way in over their heads. I'm sure that they're not going to end up breaking up like they initially intended. I have a feeling they're going to end up being together. I'm definitely making this one of my pull reads for summer 2024. Also on April 2nd, The Rule Book by Sarah Adams is coming out. This is one of the more recent additions to this list. I did not know about this book until a few months ago, and this is actually going to be a companion novel to her book The Cheat Sheet, which I loved. I've read two of Sarah Adams' books and this one by far was my favorite. It was just super cute, super sugary sweet, the perfect palate cleanser. The rule book is going to be following another guy on the NFL team as one of the characters in The Cheat Sheet, Nathan. Our main character in this book is Derek, and he ends up reconnecting with his ex who wants to be his agent. I'm really curious to see how Sarah Adams is going to write their dynamic because I feel like most of her books, like I said, are very cutesy, sugary sweet. This one sounds like it's going to have a lot more angst. So I'm really excited to dive back into this world though because I loved The Cheat Sheet so much. So I'm excited to get the companion novel. Speaking of Chestnut Springs, on April 9th, Wild Love by Elsie Silver is coming out. This is going to be her spin-off series to the Chestnut Springs series. I think it's called the Rose Hill series, but I am so excited for Wild Love because our main male character in this is Ford Grant. He is Willa Grant from Chestnut Springs, brother. And Willa's book, Heartless, was my very favorite of the Chestnut Spring series. I feel like Elsie Silver might kind of be playing off that Heartless was the fan favorite of the Chestnut Spring series because that book is single dad trope. Wild Love, I believe, is also single dad trope. I just cannot wait. I hope it gives off the same energy as Heartless, but I feel like while this one is supposed to also be a small town romance series, I think it's going to be a bit different because Ford Grant's job is that I think he's like a club promoter or a club owner, so that sounds very different to the cowboy romances. But Elsie Silver writes so many different kinds of tropes so flawlessly, so I feel like anything she does, any direction she decides to take with this new series, she can pull it off. If anyone can, it's Elsie Silver, and I just cannot wait to read more from her in 2024. This next book is probably my #1 most highly anticipated release for the new year, and that is Taming 7 by Chloe Walsh. This comes out on April 16th. And this is the 5th book in the Boys of Tommen series, and it is Claire and Gibbsie's book. If you are a fan of this series at all, Gibbsie and Claire are probably 2 of your favorite characters, and we've all been so highly anticipating their book, and it is so long awaited. I read books 1 and 2 in this series, Binding and Keeping 13, for the first time this past March, and they have remained my 2 favorite books for this entire year. I just fell in love with this series, and as soon as Gibbsie's character was introduced, I was like, okay, I need Gibbsie's book immediately. He's the comedic relief character that we all have grown to love, and I cannot wait to get his perspective. I can't wait to see maybe a more deeper emotional side to him. I still need to read books 3 and 4 in the Boys of Tommen series, Redeeming and Saving 6, which I'm planning to do definitely before April so I can read Taming 7 as soon as it comes out. But I'm curious to know when the timeline is going to be that this book is taking place. I don't know if it's going to be during the same timeline that Binding and Keeping 13 take place, but just from Gibbsie and Claire perspectives, or if it'll take place after those books. I'm curious to find out. Either way, I cannot wait for Gibbsie and Claire's book. On April 23rd, I feel like this book is on everyone's list. Funny Story by Emily Henry is being released. I feel like such a fake fan because I still have not read Happy Place by Emily Henry. If you had told me this time last year that I would not have read Happy Place by the end of 2023, I would have thought you were crazy and that you were lying. But I feel like I just hold Emily Henry and her books in such high regard that I have to read her books in like the perfect setting, the perfect time. I have to be in the perfect mood to read her books because I just want to enjoy it to the fullest extent. And I brought Happy Place with me on a vacation I took this summer with every intention of reading it there, but I ended up not having a lot of downtime during that trip, so I just didn't get to read it, and then it just never got read for the remainder of the year. So it might end up being that I read Funny Story before I read Happy Place. I feel like every Emily Henry book I pick up, I'm searching for that same feeling I got when I read People We Meet on Vacation. I feel like this one potentially could be like that. It sounds like such a fun premise. This book is about Daphne and her ex-fiance Peter. Peter ends up leaving Daphne for his childhood best friend named Petra, and I feel like there's going to be a joke in there about how Peter and Petra, their names are so similar. Daphne ends up being roommates with Petra's ex Miles, and I think Daphne and Miles start posting pictures of each other, making themselves look more coupley than they really are, I think to try and make their exes both jealous. It sounds super fun, super unique concept. I can't wait to read it. I don't know if I'll read it before or after Happy Place, but I have every intention of reading an Emily Henry book next summer. I am making it a priority. Also coming out on April 23rd is Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. Sally Hepworth is one of my very favorite thriller authors. I actually got to meet her this past year when she was promoting her book The Soulmate. She came to my local bookstore and she is just such a queen. I love her. She's so funny. I will read absolutely everything that she writes. The Soulmate, which came out in April, unfortunately ended up being a little bit of a disappointment for me. But with that being said, I have high hopes for Darling Girls. I think I'm really gonna love it because it explores the relationship between these 3 sisters and their foster mother. And if there's one thing I've learned that I love in books, it's sister relationships. And I actually discovered that through reading Sally Hepworth's book, The Good Sister, which is not only my favorite Sally Hepworth book, but one of my favorite books of all time. The sister relationship in that book was so interesting to me, so I'm hoping that Darling Girls is going to give off similar vibes. Another one of my most highly anticipated releases for 2024 is Daydream by Hannah Grace. This one's coming out on June 4th. This is the third book in the Maple Hill series. I feel like if you read and enjoyed Icebreaker, then you are so excited for this book because it is Henry's book. Henry is just the fan favorite character. We all love Henry. We're all excited for his book. This one sounds super cute. It also sounds like it's very romance reader coded. Our main female character in this is trying to write a romance novel of her own, and I think she's trying to experience different things that will help her to get context and stuff to write about for her own book. And I also think there's a book club aspect to this story where Henry and our main female character in a book club together. It sounds super cute. I'm hoping Henry's book doesn't disappoint. This is another one that I'm definitely going to make my pool read for summer 2024, and I just can't wait. And then on June 6th, Blue Sisters by Coco Mellers is coming out. I have been dying for Coco Mellers to write something else after reading her debut novel, Cleopatra and Frankenstein. That book, I think it came out in 2022, and it was one of my very favorite books the year I read it. I just absolutely fell in love with that story and her writing. It is so poetic. It's definitely not a book for everyone. It's more literary fiction, character driven, very slice of life, similar to a Sally Rooney Normal People type book. So if that's your vibe, I think you will love Coco Mellers and her writing. Blue Sisters, again, it's exploring a sister relationship, so I am so excited for it. I feel like I'm gonna love it based on what it's about. This one I know follows sisters. One is from Paris, one's from New York, and one's from London, and they have a fourth sister that just passed away. So I think they're all coming together to support one another and grieve the loss of their fourth sister. I feel like it's gonna be more emotional and hard-hitting, but I think it'll be so fascinating getting these perspectives of the different sisters from 3 different cities. I am just so excited for more from Coco Mellers. I've just been dying for her to write something else since reading Cleopatra and Frankenstein, so I cannot wait to pick this one up this summer. And then on June 11th, Ali Hazelwood has another book coming out called Not in Love. I know that she also is releasing a like vampire romantasy type story in 2024. I think I'm gonna wait to hear the reviews on that one because it doesn't completely sound like my cup of tea, but I love everything that Ali Hazelwood writes pretty much, so if people are loving that book when it comes out, I'll definitely give it a try. But for now, I'm gonna stick with what I know and love, which is her women in STEM romances. She can keep writing the same storyline over and over, and I will keep reading it and eating it up. The premise of this one sounds like there's a lot going on. I know our female main character is a bioengineer, but I rated all of Ali Hazelwood's romances very highly. I love all of them, and like I said, she can just keep doing the same storyline of women in STEM and their romances over and over, and I will read them all. On June 11th, the 4th book in the Windy City series is coming out, which is Play Along by Liz Tomford. When it comes to the Windy City series, I feel like my favorites are very different from the majority of people's favorites because I love Mile High, the first book in this series, so much, but that tends to be people's least favorite in the series. Her most recent release in this series, Caught Up, was a bit of a disappointment for me. I didn't love that one as much as I had hoped, but I do think part of that was the fact that the 2 main characters in this book were kind of brand new characters and they have a different dynamic to the rest of the friend group. The found family I felt was lacking a little bit in this book, whereas the characters in book 1 and 2, I feel like they just had a very close-knit dynamic. But I will say book 4, Play Along, is going to follow 2 characters that we got a pretty good introduction to in book 3. Our main male character in this, Isaiah, is Kai from Caught Up's brother, and our female main character in this we also got introduced to in Caught Up. So I'm hoping that will help me love the characters a little more. I am a little hesitant just because this is another baseball romance, and I really liked how books 1 through 3 switched it up when it came to what sport it was about. Mile High book 1 was hockey, The Right Move book 2 was basketball, and then Caught Up book 3 was baseball. Book 4 is going to be another baseball romance. So I don't know, I do wish it wasn't like 2 baseball romances back to back, but I'm still going to read it because I have overall enjoyed this series a lot, and I'm really holding out for book 5, which is going to be Rio's book. Rio again is our comedic relief character, and I tend to always like the comedic relief characters books the best, so I'm holding out for that one. I can't wait, but I am excited for Play Along as well. And then on June 18th, Riley Sager has a new book coming out called Middle of the Night. Riley Sager, I feel, is just an auto-buy author for me. Even though I've rated all of his books very different differently. Some I've loved, some I haven't loved, some I felt mediocre about. I feel like they're all objectively well written and just very entertaining, so I will read anything that he writes. Middle of the Night sounds so good. It's about our main character Ethan, and when he was little, he and his childhood best friend Billy were camping out in their backyard, and when he woke up, Billy disappeared and he was never found. So now as an adult, Ethan is going back to his childhood home, and when he goes there, a lot of really weird things start happening in the neighborhood. I'm kind of hoping this book will give off haunted house vibes, because my very favorite Riley Sager book is Home Before Dark, which was a haunted house book. I'm hoping this one will kind of be along the same lines, but either way, it sounds like it's going to be a fun time, and I'm sure it's going to have lots of twists and turns. I am excited for it. And then on July 16th, Business Casual by B.K. Borison is coming out. This is the 4th book in the Love Light Farms series. I actually just read Love Light Farms last week. It is a wintry Christmas book, and I absolutely fell in love with it. One of the things I really loved about it is the side characters and how well it set up future books for the side characters in the series. I also love that this series is very seasonal reader coded. I'm such a seasonal reader. Love Light Farms takes place around Christmas time, and then the second book in the series takes place in the spring. Third book takes place in the summer, and then Business Casual is going to be the final book, I believe, taking place in the fall. So I haven't read books 2 and 3 yet, but I'm planning to in the spring and summer, and then of course I'll read Business Casual in the fall. I do know our male main character in this is Charlie, who is Stella from Love Light Farms' brother, and what we got of Charlie in that book I loved. He seemed like such a fun character, and I just loved B.K. Borison's writing so much, so I cannot wait to continue on with this series. And then hopping all the way to October 15th, The Wedding Wish by Erin Sterling is coming out. This is the 3rd book in the X-Hex series. I read the X-Hex last October. I had every intention of reading book 2, The Kiss Curse, this past October, but I didn't get around to it, so I will be prioritizing it next fall, and then definitely wanting to read The Wedding Wish after that. This one in particular sounds especially good to me because we're following another one of the brothers that have been in this series, but I love that the setting is kind of switching up from the first two. The first two had a great setting. It took place in this like Halloween town, but the brothers are actually originally from Wales, and this book is taking place in Wales, which just sounds so fun. And our female main character in this is a human, whereas before all the characters, male and female, were both witches. This one is a romance between a witch and a human, so I'm sure that's going to cause a little bit of conflict in the book, and I love that it's switching it up just a little bit from books 1 and 2. I feel like it's going to be the perfect book to read in October to get me in the Halloween mood for spooky season. And then finally, this last book is a big old question mark. We've got no title, no release date, nothing, but I'm just putting it out there, manifesting that we are going to get this book at the end of 2024, like the rumors are saying. I've seen in a few places December 2024 as a potential date. Nothing set in stone. I'm just hoping and praying that we get the 3rd book in the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros, along with so many people I read and fell in love with books 1 and 2 in this series, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I especially loved Iron Flame. I know that's kind of an unpopular opinion. A lot of people did not like Iron Flame, but I thought it was so good, and it ended on the biggest cliffhanger, so I need answers. But I want Rebecca to take her time. I want her to make the most perfect book and flesh everything out. I don't want her to feel rushed to write it, so if it doesn't end up coming out in 2024, I will patiently wait as long as it takes for a great 3rd book to come out. I just can't wait to continue on with this series. It's one of my favorites that I read this year. Absolutely loved it, and I need more. I need answers. I need to know what's going to happen, and I can't wait for book 3. So that, you guys, is my list of my most highly anticipated new releases for 2024. Let me know if we have any of the same books on our list, if you think I missed anything, what you're excited to read most next year. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the red subscribe button to stick around to my channel if you are not already subscribed. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you so soon in my next video. Bye, guys.